All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Humble and Hungry podcast with DeVentri Jordan. My name is Brandon. I'm going to be your host, hanging out with DeVentri Jordan himself. DeVentri, you going to be all right? This is your first podcast experience.
Man, I know. Nervous. I'm excited. Actually, I'm really excited. I'm grateful to have a podcast, man, and to be able to speak to some of our athletes and talk about training and their careers and, what they're doing.
That's right. It's going to be a lot of highlighting, I think, a lot of athletes, which in case everyone doesn't know, GameFace, sports performance training business that we've got going here. And you're the founder and owner of this. And what we're doing is just going to be taken through athlete journeys and stories and everyone kind of surrounding sports and athletes like that. So we've got two athletes that you've known for quite a long time to kick this one off, which makes sense. Who are we going to talk to today and why?
We have Quinton Hooker. We've been training Quinton Hooker for around 4.5, 5 years. And we have Theo John, who we've been training since he was in 7th grade. He is now going to be a fifth year senior at Duke. Quinton Hooker, we started training right after he got out of college, entered into his pro career, and now he's going into his 5th year being a pro basketball player. So I wanted to bring these guys in because as a company, we've been evolving to offer better products and better things for our athletes. So I wanted these guys to come in because they kind of seen the timeline of where we've been at as a company. And so I wanted to get their perspective on the training aspect of what we offer and then their careers and where they're going.
All right, I love it. Well, right away, we've got Quinton Hooker joining us. Sir, welcome to the podcast. My understanding is that you've known DeVentri for quite a while. Is that true?
I mean, sometimes you can't believe everything you hear from DeVentri, but it's been a good 4 going on 5 years. After college, doing my pre-draft workouts and stuff like that, started working out with him, and it's been a great time.
Awesome. And so what are you up to these days?
Currently, I play professional basketball in Europe, in Germany this last year, and looks like going back to Germany this next year too. So,
right.
In the works right now.
So you found a new home over there, huh?
Yeah, it should be coming up soon.
All right. And speaking of people finding a new home, Theo John here.
Yes, sir.
So you're in a bit of a transition right now too, that's right?
Yeah, did 4 years at Marquette, and then after this year, I was faced with the decision to turn professional, use that extra COVID year. I decided to attend Duke University, and it's been a kind of a crazy process, but I mean things just falling into place. So
I love that, and obviously there's going to be so much, I think, attention at Duke this year.
Yeah,
Coach K just announcing his last season. I expect the film crews to be out in mass this time, so that'll be an experience.
No, I know it's gonna be crazy. I actually just got back from my visit, and Coach K, this really says it all itself. And the fact that it's going to be his last season, last go-around, I want to send him out the right way, and I want to go out the right way too. So
I love it.
Be focused.
All right, DeVentri, you got a couple of big-time athletes in here that I think are going to spill all the secrets about you over the last however many years they've known you.
Yeah, they will.
But where should we start the story of these guys' journey?
Let's start with Theo. Theo's been with me the longest. I think Theo have seen... Every year, he said something to me about a year ago, maybe it was 2. He said, man, every time I come back from school, you're either in a different space or you're doing something different. And let's start with Theo from the trunk of the car, carrying the kettlebells in the cold, going into the basement to train inside of churches. That's where we started. Then we gradually just kind of upgraded from there. It's like a whirlwind for me. It's so surreal. To where we used to be to where we're going, and we're not even there yet. Mm-hmm. We're still working on it. We're still putting together that secret sauce, and so I'm grateful for it. So Theo, tell them about it. Tell them about the history.
It's been crazy. Like you said, a few years ago, I just kind of realized, like, every time I came back from school, because you know how college basketball is, like, you leave, you gone for probably like 9 months at a time, come back for this few months in the summer. Like, it's either a new spot. Like, I pull up to many old spots, come up, and ain't nobody in there. I'm like, yo, where you at? You're like, oh, we at the new location. So I'm having to, drive around. But it's been crazy just to see it grow. And, just the amount of people. Like, it started out just pretty much the A and B team, the 7th grade traveling basketball team. And now it's, about to be countrywide. It's going to be...
We'll be the industry leader across the United States in the next few years.
Yeah.
In performance training.
Yeah, so for you, obviously, Theo, going from middle school basketball to now an extra year at Duke, I guess when you come back, why are you always going to DeVentri and GameFace and what he's got going on? Like, how's kind of your career journey always gone parallel with them?
Be nice.
I mean, I feel like we've just grown together. I mean, as I'm growing as a player, I mean, he's growing as a company, as a trainer, as a man. It's like, because we have that history, we have that relationship. It's like, why not? Like, this somebody I know is gonna be all in towards me and my career, and I'm gonna do what I can to support him and his company as well. So it's kind of like we're using each other to just keep pushing forward. And I mean, it's top of the line training too. Like, even when we was back in the back of the trunk, like, I remember I was skin and bone. Like, a lot of people don't know that I was very, very skinny. And DeVentri helped me, I mean, put on a lot of weight. For a while, I was a little too big. I was looking like a football player. I was 270. I was big.
270?
Yeah, nah.
Goodness. Oh my
270.
God.
That was my junior year. Yeah. And then
You was looking strong.
yeah, when I had my wrist surgery, I'd even come in and he helped me cut weight.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like anything I needed for my career, he was there helping me with through that. And it's, like I said, it's been a journey.
So was you in here with the sling?
Yeah, I was in here with the sling. I couldn't move.
Sling, but the other arm was going crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just adaptability. That's what he was working on. And I mean, he's always pushing me, always texting me, making sure I'm just doing what I got to do. So
is it fake it till you make it with him, or did you just know what he needed the whole time?
That's a good question. I think from us, we use an approach to kind of meet athletes where they're at. And so the resources that we had, we did good with them. And I think for me, the goal is to be the industry leader for us as a company. I think there are so many different companies out here that have a lot of resources, a lot of money, but they're not doing things the right way. And for us, everything is on a consistent progression to get athletes better. And let's knock on wood, but most athletes that we train, when they go back to sport, they're likely less to get injured or to be injured. And so we're very conscious about getting athletes back off an off season. We're very conscious about checking on athletes' mental health during the season, because it's a mental grind. So for us, having a partnership with a Lifetime to have unparalleled resources was just a match made in heaven for us.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I like it. I mean, obviously, you can't just buy all the fancy equipment. You got to know what you're doing with it. You have to. What about you, Q? I mean, same story, or is it a little bit different for you?
A little better, I'm sure.
Well, I guess, I came into it when they were in Maple Grove.
Brooklyn Park.
Wasn't it
Park. It was Brooklyn Park.
Oh, yeah, it was by
Octane.
By
building.
Octane.
Yeah, by Maranatha.
So, yeah, same with me. Every year has been different building. I swear the buildings get bigger and bigger. But, yeah, no, each, summer for me is a big time, because I mean, when you're overseas, it's a grind for 9-10 months at a time. So a big part of it is having that down period to recover, and then find your rhythm to get back in full strength for preseason, because preseason in Europe is definitely different than most would think. I mean, you have your regular preseasons, and then there's European preseasons, and they're always just different. But it's a big time to come back, and every single time I've come back, I think always improved, always gotten better. I mean, especially as you get older, you have to fine tune things, and I don't know, it's just so many different things that go into it. So summers for me are a big recovery, and it gets stronger, and every year we've done that. I've become, like, this last season was my best season yet being a pro. At the highest level that I've been at a pro. And I mean, last summer I think it gives credit to that, because I mean, we were getting after it.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
And we said that. Remember, we said, what were the goals? Be the best, And I'm excited for you too, because like, you have the journey of you already being there, and then you have one more year, then you going there. Like, Q, what advice would you give to Theo, right? You went to a school, you took him to the big dance, you've been through the process, like.
Well, I think it's I mean, a little different between Duke and North Dakota,
It's
right?
still college basketball.
But it's, it's a different level to where, when you're in the ACC, like it's, all eyes is on you constantly, And so I think, that's just already like, such a positive for you. Cause I mean, you've done the work. I mean, I remember seeing you coming up like younger, like you really were skinny. Like you were like, you were like a little dude. Yeah. And then just year by year, all of a sudden, showing up to some workouts, some open gyms. And it's like, dang, dude, like, I didn't even know about GameFace about you yet.
Right.
It was Amani who first, went to you first. And then, I went like, 2 years, something like that later. But I mean, for me, honestly, just enjoy like this. I mean, I know it's going to be crazy too with Coach K and everything like that. So like, but enjoy the time that you have left in college. And honestly, I mean, for me, I mean, being a pro, like, the level that you at, like, you're already a pro. Like that's the mentality that I think is the biggest thing that some guys can get caught up when you're in college is you have to treat yourself to be at that next level.
Right.
And that's probably the biggest thing. I mean, I would say, just know what level that you're at. I mean, everybody's situation is different, but I mean, just enjoy it because college is so much different. I mean, whether, you're in the NBA, whether you're overseas, like it's just a different vibe. It does become much more of a business and a livelihood where in college, it's your boys still, like it's your guys. And I mean, even though you're transferring, like, I mean, it's just different because in college, like those guys are your guys like right away. So yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy it because, yeah.
And you will be on TV every night.
Every night. It's
behind the scenes, 30 for 30s.
It's weird. Like, I feel like because I did my 4 years and, like, witness, like, it was kind of like an awkward transition where I didn't know if I was going back. Honestly, if you'd asked me, like, 2 months ago, I would have laughed in your face. You said I was going back to school.
Right.
But
I remember Asha, you told me you weren't going to go back.
I said some words I ain't gonna say on the show, but I was like, absolutely not. And
that chapter had closed. Right. You were kind of like, all right, what's next?
So like, I feel like mentally, I was like, like you said, training to be a pro, because like, I realized there's not like you don't wake up one day like, oh, I'm a pro. Like it's something you gotta start telling yourself, training yourself to be, and that's where you turn into that.
And that's the thing about us. We've always trained our high-level high school athletes to be a pro. That's why they're so good when they get in the games or they're off the court and like Leslie, to have injuries. We train them at the same level we train a Quinton or we train a Theo. We train these guys like a professional athlete. We treat them like they're a professional athlete so that when they go back to school, it's no different. You're not skipping a beat. So when they're in college or in the weight room or they're doing a movement session, the coaches and looking at these guys like, well, what have you been doing all summer? They're like, well, you need to go back there next summer. So that's how we do our athletes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. Obviously we have two guys that have succeeded at the highest level. Yep. It's important that, like, if an athlete, because we train a lot of competitive kids, boys and girls, I want to be a pro. Okay, well, it starts now. Like, to your point, Theo, like you said, it doesn't just click and you're like, all right, I'm a pro today. Got an agent, got a nice place. Right. Like, it's a journey of like essentially becoming, that mentality before we get there. So it's good to hear that you're essentially treating and acting like they are pros as they get into it. Like I said, I think there's a lot of that not holding a high enough line maybe, or the accountability that goes into these athletes that you guys bring, which is great. And obviously these two can attest to it. I think we should rewind even further back into before you guys were pros or heading to Duke. And I think that, careers are journeys. They're not linear.
Facts.
You said you had a wrist surgery. I don't know if you had any injuries, Quinton, or like any kind of setbacks for you, or how do you go from high school in Minnesota to North Dakota to, oh, wow, I have a chance to play overseas. So kind of like, what was your journey throughout high school? And was there a moment in your career, maybe high school, college, that you're like, I'm pretty good. Like this might be a career for me?
Honestly, like, I've never thought of being anything else. Like, I've legitimately, and like, because I talked to my brother about this a lot. Like, we never, like, going to college and playing sports was always the thing. Like, it never was like, oh, maybe I'll go do business or maybe I'll go. No, it was always like, even from when we were in, elementary to junior high to high school, it was always like, we're going to be the best that we can be. Mainly because it was like fun. Like,
but where did that come from though? Like, was that something that your parents put inside of you? Was it something that you played in a 7th grade AAU game and you like, I'm really good? You know, like, where does that come from?
Honest, I think, you know, each person's different. Like, you hear some guys that start playing a sport when they're 17 and then they're 21 and they're like top of their league at some point, you know, like, you know, there's guys that just randomly, girls that are just like that.
Right.
But I don't know, for me, it's just something like natural within that, like, you know, I love sports. I mean, when I was younger, it was basketball, football, baseball, soccer. Like, we were doing everything.
Right.
But then it got to a point where I was like, you know, basketball's always, you know, it. And so, like, I don't know, it was always, I mean, but my parents too. Like, I mean, my dad was my trainer until I got to college.
You got wonderful parents too, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to them, right? Mom and dad love y'all, right? But
both you guys do.
Like, I mean, they're a huge part of that. Like, I mean, we would go to LA. It'd be 10 o'clock on a school night, right? I mean, high school, and it's like, you know, dang, I didn't get a workout in today after practice or something like that, or maybe it's in the fall or spring or something like that, and it's like, just got done with homework, look at my dad, and he's like, trying to go work out. It's like, yeah, like, you know, like, or like the days I didn't want to or something like that, like, you should probably go get some shots up, you know? And like, so I think that kind of started my journey to where it was like, you know, I knew I always wanted to do it. So even when I got to college, like, there's guys that once you get to college that, you know, they're just doing it for college, you know?
They made it.
Yeah, they made it. Yeah, they made it. And for me, it was like, nah, this is what I had to do to get to that next level. And even as a pro, like there's, so especially like, in Europe, I see it sometimes too. Like, guys will say that, like, especially my first year when I was in Poland, I noticed it was like some of the guys, like, they made it for themselves. Like, they made what they wanted to do to be in the top Polish league for basketball. Like, they did it, you know. But for me, it was like, all right, this is my first step to being at the highest level I can be. Like, I've never stopped trying to get back over into the NBA. Like, I mean, my mindset is right now, okay, I went from Poland, France. France was it was Pro B, it was second division France, but it was still a high level to where I knew it would get me to that next step. Next year, I went to a Champions League team in Hungary. This last year, I went to BBL, which is Germany, and it's, you know, top 5 league in Europe. Now, you know, probably going back, but maybe high level team, right? So like, you know, back in the European competition. So like, I've always been one of those people where it's like, you know, there's like, you know, there's levels, like, you know, you're trying to keep working up, but it really, there's like times where like you see people and like it's like a stopping point for them, or like, and it's, I mean, as athletes, I think we all know, like, there always is going to be an end. Like, you're not going to be, you know, in your top. I mean, some guys go into 40 though, and shout out to them, because like, I mean, Vince Carter still hooping like that, you know, like, it's crazy.
Even like Chris Paul, he's what, 37?
Yeah, like
36 points last night,
going crazy, you know. So I know I went completely off.
But it's good information.
Off track.
The thing about it is people need to understand, like, your parents made sure you did the little things, and they made small deposits inside of you, which grew, right? Which is now your routine. Now you know I don't skip steps.
Facts.
You don't skip, and same for you, Theo. I still hear your dad, and right now in the back of my ear with his voice.
Man, I hear it too.
Riding you to be the best that you can be.
Yeah,
and I think that in sports, at elite levels, you have two different sides. You have one side where nobody has any parents or anybody pushing them. It's because of anger and out of, you know, frustration that they involve and get to where they're at, right? Like, I don't have a choice, right? And then you have people who have two parents in a household who just support the process and help groom the process. You know what I mean? And then help you get there, and then you maintain. Like I said, you guys just move different. You guys have always been like that. You weren't the guys who were taking things for granted in high school, who were taking advantage of who you were. You guys you just stayed the course. You know what I mean? Even now, like, you just got back from Duke, you know, looking at your locker, I'd be going crazy. I'd be in the Duke basketball hat, shorts, everything, right? But you still show that humble attitude because you know that, hey, if I don't skip these steps, I know it's coming for me.
Yeah.
And you both do that.
I say, like, to answer your question, like, when it came, like, I feel like I got to credit my dad for that, because I still remember it like it was yesterday. It was a 3rd grade championship house league. We had lost, and I was pissed. I had a 2nd place trophy. I got in my dad's car, and I had a decent game. Honestly, I was terrible back then, but I thought I had a decent game. And I looked to my dad. I'm like, Dad, you think I got a shot to play in the NBA? And he looked at me. He laughed a little bit at first, but he looked at me. He said, So you want the truth or you want me to be nice? I was like, I want the truth. And he started laughing. He was like, boy, hell no. Like, absolutely not.
Third grade deal wasn't it.
No, yeah, he's like, absolutely not. And he's like, do I think you have the determination? Do I think you have the tools to do that? He's like, yeah. But right now, with your work ethic, what you doing, he's like, no. So I'm not going to be the dad to give you McDonald's and tell you how good you are. Like, if you want something, I'm going to push you to be that. I'm going to push you to get there. And, I mean, since then, like, I know it's third grade, but I still remember that to this day. And I'm thinking, like, you always becoming something. Like, yeah, you looked at me way back then. Like, you would have been like, all right, he probably got 2 more years of playing basketball and he's going to be playing video games, doing all this. But, like, if it's almost like if you put your mind to it and always try, like you said, like or what you said, like it's like stepping stones. Mm-hmm. Like, you just got to put one foot in front of the next. Yeah. And you can't be looking too far in the future because then you're going to fall not knowing where your feet at.
It doesn't just happen.
Exactly.
Like, it does not happen.
And you got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy the process.
Right.
Like, so many guys just get so stuck and so frustrated on the fact that they not where they want to be, or they get caught up in like, oh, I want to make the high school team. They make the high school team and they get happy. They get like they settling. They not going to the gym, doing the extra work. Where like, if you have your dream and where you want to be in mind while you taking your steps, then I mean it's gonna fall where it's supposed to.
Let me ask you guys this question, social media question. You both have friends that are playing at like high levels that you guys maybe played with growing up. Does that like bother you guys, or is it like in your mind you're like, you know what, my time is coming, or I'm at where I'm supposed to be at, or it's a matter of time before I get there?
It's a good question. I mean, for me, like I see like some of the guys who were younger than me, like Dan, Trey.
Yeah.
Like, I see them and, like, I'm just proud. Like, I'm happy for them. Like, they made it. They doing what they said when we was younger they wanted to do.
Who was that?
Like, Trey Jones, like, just guys who were, like, younger than me when I was coming up. So, like,
I was just getting first and last name out of you.
Oh, my bad. Like, Daniel,
the rest of the people are going to have no idea. But I love it because it's your family.
Zeke, Najee, I mean, these guys in the league now, it's like, congrats. Like, I'm happy for y'all. Like, kind of like how you just said, like it's. I know my time gonna come because I know, like I'm not gonna stop until my legs give out pretty much. But to see them and like the fact that they doing what they said they wanted to do, like you can't be like jealous or nothing like that because what's that gonna do for you?
Right.
And that's the thing. Like I think as another like athlete, like especially when you're like. When you know where you're at, right? So like, and you're okay with who you are. I think that's the other thing. Like, it's really a lot of people who aren't in the position to say that, you know, someone shouldn't be where they're at. Right. Or some, you know, like we know these people, or like, you know, we know that these people are supposed to be where they're at. Yeah. You know, like it's different when you're in it and you're saying like, you know, like, yeah, like, I don't know. I've never really felt that way. Like, nah, like I should be there, he shouldn't be there, you know? Like that's different. Like that's just, I don't know how to like to describe that. That's like, you're not, I don't know, that bothers me to be honest. That truly bothers me because like they work just as hard, you know, to get to where they're at. Like you said, you happy for them. Like there's never like, if you're supposed to be in that position, you would, you know, like you said, like you're on your way. Like you said, like, you know, there's, you know, my time is coming. Like, you know, their time is right now. You know, your time might be in 3-4 years, you know, maybe your time has passed, but you have a different path that you can get to, you know. But I think it's people who aren't athletes or people who aren't in the position to really understand like what those people went through and did to get to where they're at that say like, nah, they shouldn't be there.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I think 2 more questions I have on kind of the journey as well. Was it easy for you guys to just be sport obsessed and like block out the social life and the things you just said? There's sacrifices along the way. I mean, like, how easy was it for you, Theo, to just immerse yourself in everything basketball, you know, along the way? Or like, you know, I think because we hear some athletes are like, no, I didn't even know high school was going on. Like, I was just focused on that and my sport and my craft and everything else. Was that kind of your journey?
I'm gonna be real with y'all. I was kind of a weird dude in high school. Like I was just an odd dude. Like I found my comfort in basketball. So like guys would be going to parties, and don't get me wrong, I went to a few parties, did some few dumb stuff. Like I was a kid in high school.
I'm sure.
But for the most part, like I was just in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
And like I remember people used to ask me, like I specifically remember it was homecoming. And I'm in the gym shooting, the football game going on out there. And I think it was a sophomore, Coach Larson, he came in, he's like, Theo, like, go enjoy yourself. Go, like it's homecoming football. Like, go out there, have some fun, sit in the studio. I'm like, what's that going to do for me? Like, watching football ain't going to help me achieve my goals. Like, I'm where I want to be. I'm good with what I don't even see it as a sacrifice. I see it as a choice. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd rather do this right now to better myself for the future or prepare myself for the future. Good. Because, like, my joy is silencing the crowd or having, like, I can't wait for Cameron. Like, Cameron Crazy, they going to be going.
I think we've heard of that.
Yeah, like, that's where I find my joy. Like, yeah, some people want that party scene, want to do all this extra stuff. Like, that just wasn't me. And I really don't think it is me. And you just, like you kind of said, you got to be happy with who you are. Know who you are and do what you want to do. Like I'm not here to impress nobody. I'm doing this for me and my family.
Because there's definitely guys that do that and are still very successful.
Yeah.
Like I mean, like it's just just, some people just have a different vibe. Like
each his own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's funny that you said that there's homecoming. So this was junior year, and for basketball, junior year. Summer, that's big.
Recruiting year.
Yeah, that's the recruiting year, right? Like, so this is last year, Pulley, like this is before even, this is back in, so I think this is like January, February, and it was for prom. And my wife, but we weren't even together at the time junior year, obviously. And junior, she's like, hey, she asked me, she was like, hey, so like, would you want to go to prom? Or like, what are you doing for prom? And I was like, no, I got a tournament. Like, I didn't even think, like, she literally just asked me, like, do you want to go to prom with me? Like, I was like, no, I got a tournament. We're going to Houston or something, or Dallas or something like that. She's like, can't just skip it? I was like, I laughed at her. I said, no, like, what are you talking about? Like, this is EYBL. Like, no, I'm not going to miss this. She's like, oh, so like, it's funny now because
so can I go with this other guy?
Yeah, right, cool, right? And so like, now, almost 10 years later, now we're married. And like, it's funny because like, obviously it doesn't like happen for her. Like, it's my wife, it's like, we were together senior year, right? But she always laughs because she was dead serious asking me, like, do you want to go to prom? Like, it's junior prom, like, it's a big thing too. And I'm like, no, like, didn't even second think about
so you just
that.
being selfish.
It's just, I guess so, right? Yeah, she's happy about it now, right? Like, get a job of the world and whatnot. But no, it's just funny. Like, I think honestly, it's just you find passion in what you do, and like, there's like, I swear, like in junior high, like I might have had like 3, 4, 5 like real friends that like I would actually hang out with. Because other than that, like I didn't have a social life. Right. Like Friday nights, I was at home maybe with my parents because I just got done working out and like that's what I wanted to do. So I was dead tired. So I'm gonna chill because Saturday morning drill with my dad is at 7 a.m. So I'm waking up at 6:15 to go hoop at a church with some 30, 40-year-old men, like, just trying to get into work, So I think each, like you said, everybody's like different, you know, but like, yeah, I was kind of that same way. Like I wasn't really into the parties. I mean, then you get to college and, you kind of open up some more and then, the guys, you go to some bars and stuff like that. You start to hang out and then like, I think you find a good balance. Mm-hmm. But I think especially as like a kid though, like, I was really like just focused in on that.
It sounds like you had a very competitive family growing up, which probably helped. Is that the same with you? Do you have siblings that you were competing against?
Yeah, so, I mean, my siblings, they all great. So, like, my brother, he's playing at D2 Missouri Western. I always tried to drag him in the gym, bring him up to GameFace. He was a little more social, but like we said, like, everybody different. Everybody got their things. Where a workout to him may be more of a sacrifice, where to me it was a choice. And then my little sister, I mean, she played basketball, volleyball, soccer, but her thing is academics. Like, I was just talking with her, had some, like, one-on-one time with her at the airport, and I mean, she's getting letters from Harvard. I don't brag much, but I'm gonna brag about my sister. She like Harvard, Stanford, Cal, like all these crazy, Columbia.
That's what's up.
And so like her path is different, and she, like where I would spend hours in the gym, she in her room grinding out some schoolwork. I don't know how she do that, but like she be focused, and that's what she like to do, and she like figuring stuff out, stuff like that. So like we're competitive, but all in our own way. I got another sister too. She was a little more social. She had some other things going on, but we all were competitive in what we did. And I feel like my brother he was more trying to follow me and do the basketball thing. He liked football too.
Yeah.
But I mean, we all have our own paths, and I feel like the competitiveness of being the best of who we were was kind of more of our competitiveness versus trying to all be like the star athlete or star academic person. I don't even know what the word for that is.
That's
but
a good word. That's good.
Yeah, but my parents were really good at just kind of supporting us in each of our paths. Like they realized my brother wasn't always going to be going to the gym the way I did. They realized my sister, or I'm not going to be in the books as much as my sister, that's for sure. But like we did what we had to do to kind of get where we wanted to be. Yeah,
Let that pass, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm to the point where I'm basically going to my sister like, yo, what's this? Like, I'm FaceTiming my sister. Like, this tutor tripping. She not helping me. And she a junior in high school, about to, when she graduate high school, I think she's going to have 2 years of her college done. And
golly.
like next level, like it's crazy. She doing all these different standardized tests, and I'm like,
good for her.
I'm good. Like you remember taking them. You're like, all right, I need this so I can be eligible. Like,
took it one time, got my score.
I'm done.
Check that box.
Done. I remember the ACT. I remember the last like 5. It was like few pages. I'm just like C, B. Too many C's in a row. Like I'm just like, yeah, that wasn't me. But I got there. I did what I had to do. But you know, as a family, I'm proud of where everybody at, and we all like achieving greatness in what it is that we do. So
That's good.
I mean, we've made it this far without talking about your family, Quinton. I can only imagine the competitiveness.
Yeah, I think, and that's where I think too, like our family was, you know, because you're the oldest. Yeah, you're the oldest. So maybe that's where it was too, where we're the younger ones. So we're always trying to beat our sisters and everything, and we always had the mindset of being, you know, professional athletes. So I guess that kind of maybe too was where, you know, our sister set the tone, and like my oldest sister, she did everything. She did soccer, basketball, she ran track, and she worked. You know, she was like really set the tone with like what it was to get to the next level. She worked and, you know, paid, you know, for her way to go to college and stuff like that. And like, you know, my parents obviously was helping with college too, but like she set the tone with the athletics. And then like it really just kind of got better and better and better and better, like with each of us. It's kind of funny because then my other sister, she's probably still faster than me. She's Bree, she's cold, like she's fast, she's strong, and she's, you know, like she's just compact. Like I don't even know, like she's short but she's strong. Like whenever we were like hooping outside or something like that, we didn't know if we could really play her because sometimes she'd snap and like boom, just hit us, you know, like so she was, you know, she set the tone with the physicality. That was for sure.
Wow.
But and then, you know, so she was swimming, basketball, track, soccer. She's an athlete. And then there's me who basketball, like younger. And then freshman year, I stopped playing football and just focused on basketball. And then Monty, he did everything too. And then he focused on basketball and football. Football was kind of always his thing. Like even as like a, you know, fourth grader, he was blowing kids up. Like it was like just different. Like you know, like on the court, you see some like kid like, and he was boom, you know. But I think that kind of where our competitive was. Like whatever we were doing outside, you know, even if it's in the house, like we were playing floor football or something like that. Like it was just extra competitive. But it was fun though. Like, you know, I don't know. It was just, you know, I think our parents kind of like, made that environment too, where it was okay to express ourselves and, to be athletic, but school was always very important too. And I think that's too where my sister set the tone too. But yeah, no, it definitely was a fun time, especially when we got older too, because it was Amani who we had to drag into workouts too. Like he didn't, he wanted to go hang out with his boys and kicking and whatnot. I'm running the hills and we would drag him with. And I mean, he's just naturally an athlete,
Yeah, he is.
But like he worked at it. And I think it was once he got to high school where he realized he could really be something. Like he always knew he was going to do football, but then he realized where he was at his level.
I think once he hit high school and he started experiencing some success, started getting those letters and stuff, is where it really started to kick in for him.
Yeah.
He was the first one there. What I love about your family is just you guys have a servant attitude. He was always standing behind, hey, do you need help cleaning? Do you need help with this? Do you need help with that? I remember when we moved into that spot, one of our first spots, he was in there putting rubber in the turf. He would get in a group of the football players together. Like, just those little things that make athletes different. And we're so blessed as a company to have so many athletes like that. And I always tell people, like, we're not for every athlete, we're for the right athlete. And that's why we didn't spend a lot of time on marketing. We really did word of mouth because we're a family. And in our environment, as you see, Brandon, like, everybody cares about everybody. And we all want everyone to get better.
Yeah, no, it's very tangible here. Obviously, right now we're training out of Winter Park in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, the old Vikings facility, and it doesn't work the way you guys have it set up if like everyone's not on the same page and moving in the right direction. So this is the last question that we'll ask all the athletes as well is, obviously, this is a sports performance business. You guys are athletes that have succeeded at an extremely high level that most of us can only dream of. What role did sports performance play in your careers? Did you look at it as something that you absolutely had to do, or was it one of those things you're like, well, I've already spent 47 hours on the basketball court. Like, what else can I do? Like, how did you guys view it, and kind of what was, I guess, a noticeable benefit that you guys got out of it? Quinton, we can start with you. It sounds like you joined later.
Yeah. So, I think the real difference was when, in college I saw the difference from working out. Because when in high school, it was just, my dad that was working out. And I say just, but I mean, he got me right. Like, I mean, I wasn't, being bullied by any means in high school or anything like that. So like, I mean, he really kind of showed me like the importance of it. And then I got to college and I noticed the separation, because it was, not only in the summer, but in season, like guys who were able to stick to their routine and find their way, especially, in the weight room and with their body and stuff like that. That's the difference. Like if you can stay on the court and you can, improve yourself, that's the biggest thing. And then once you get as a pro, it's like night and day, because you have guys that will, not treat themselves and their bodies at that professional level, and they fall off. They may have a couple great seasons, but they're done by year 3 or 4. And then you have the guys who are playing until they're 37, 38 at a high level, and they decide to quit because they're retiring, they're stop playing. Right. And I think that's probably the biggest game, because each year when you go to training camp, you're like, all right, who got better, or who at least stayed in shape during the summer. Right. I think that's kind of where I noticed the biggest difference, and like the importance of it is the longevity. Like, I mean, especially as an athlete, like this is your career. Our body is our job. Mm-hmm. So like you have to treat your body the way that you need to in order to keep succeeding and keep leveling up in a way, basically.
Sure. Look, we've always said sports are a game of margins. And it sounds like you guys are trying to grab every inch of margin you can get to stack the deck in your favor. Mm-hmm. And then to your point, saying that, it's kind of a cheesy saying, but it holds up water so well. The best ability is availability. If you're always there and ready, mm-hmm. like you're going to have a shot. So I think that's interesting. Theo, for you, I guess it sounds like we had some body changes we needed to put you through, and then we had a little too many changes and balance you back. So I guess, how did sports performance like add to your career?
I say, honestly, it's always been I feel like it went alongside with basketball, like especially with guys in my position. And like, I always knew I had to be strong, fast, be able to, like, athletic, alongside with being able to have the basketball skills. So, like, I feel like every day since I can remember, it was the gym, the weight room, the gym, the weight room, the gym, cardio. Like, it always went along. Like, the better you are on the court, they correlate. So, like, it's neck and neck. So, like when I was younger, I always want to look like Dwight Howard. I was like, yeah, I want the big shoulders. I want, like, because that's the position that I played back then. So I'm like, okay. I used to look at NBA guys, and, you know, the NBA's changed a lot. But, like, back in the day, like, you had all those big, bulky dudes, and that's what I aspired to be, because I'm like, all right, I'm a center. I'm a big man. Like, that's what I got to do. I got to block shots, be the anchor of the team. Like, somebody punch my point guard, I'm the one over there, like, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like the big brother on the court. So I always took pride in, like you said, your body's your temple. Like, that's what's going to pay the bills. That's what's going to determine how long your career is. Like, you don't take care of your body, you're not taking care of your career. And, like, it just correlates so well together, where, like, every time I went to GameFace, I was either coming or going to my next basketball workout. And some of his spots, I mean, we had made sure to put a hoop in there where, yeah, I mean,
don't start that.
Boy, I'm just saying.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, we won't talk about
every time you on the court
when DeVentri got on the court. But
yeah, speaking of too big, and dude need to loosen his shoulders a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
looking kind of strong over there, huh? Sweatshirt might be a little too small.
Yeah, it gives you a little schmedium. But yeah, it
definitely does go hand in hand. Like, I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, I mean, the better you are on the court usually has to do with how well your body is. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, if you're hurting, like, that affects your game. You're thinking about that during the game. Yeah. You know, if you're feeling like you can't have that extra step, you're not going to go for that the rebound or a crossover. Or, you know, you're not going to be able to get that stop that the team needs. And that, you know, especially, I mean, in college it's a little different because, like, it's, you know, you're there at the university. But when you're a pro, it's like, you know, you're disposable at this point. Like, I mean, especially, you know, when, like, if some guys don't have guaranteed contracts, like, I mean, they'll get rid of you. You're just another body that they were able to get. And especially as an import, like in Europe too, like, okay, if you're not doing your job, well, they're going to bring somebody in and they will do what they need to try to get you out. You know, like, they will say, don't show up to the gym. They will say, you know, you'll be with us, but you won't play, you know, or whatever, you know, like, there's you know, it's just how it is. That's the business side of it, you know, like, as long as you can perform and do what you got to do. I mean, that's where the performance thing, that's why each summer, like, I go into preseason knowing that I'm in the best shape that I need to be in, so that when I get there, I set that tone, like, I'm here, I'm real. Like, you know, and when you go from season to season, it's usually different players and stuff like that, you know. And in college, it's a little different because you know what guys you're getting, you know. But it's, all right, I need to let these people know that I'm for real. Like, you know, last season happened. This is now. Right. So, yeah.
It's good.
All right, last one, and then we'll get you guys out of here. What's the one thing that you either slept on and didn't take serious, or just didn't realize how impactful it was when it comes to performing at the highest level? It could be supplements, it could be sleep, it could be lateral versus linear versus multi-directional, it could be getting in the Vertimax, I don't know, like, anything. But I'm guessing there's probably one thing that is we can use this platform to pass knowledge on to people that are coming up in the journey. What's one thing that you would kind of point out to someone and say, don't sleep on this? Like, I know your coaches said it over and over. Turns out they were right. So, Theo, we talking getting the diet right? We talking getting the sleep right? What do you think is the one thing that, now that you take serious, you wish you would have done?
That's a good question. Can I do three things?
The more, the better.
All right, so sleep is huge. At Marquette, we had these things called Whoops, the Whoop band. And if you don't know about it, you gotta look into it, because, like, I think the Apple
we were looking into it. So we're actually looking into getting a setup for our athletes, for our high-level athletes.
Oh, yeah, that's
so
huge.
Because we can
That's
track
huge.
everything that you're doing, and then we know how to push you the next day.
So you see me up at 2:30 to
Yeah,
5:30.
playing Call of Duty.
Call of Duty, yeah, with the baby, yeah.
Right here.
Come on,
What
stop
joystick,
crying,
yeah.
stop crying. Like,
Chill,
what?
chill,
Like,
chill.
Right.
Nah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
But that's a
sleep.
two-part. So we got sleep, but then we also have a tracker. So you know, I'm not just sleeping 8 hours. Was it a good 8? Was it not great 8?
Deep
Different
sleep.
things.
All yeah. I learned so much with just having that band. Like, there's different levels of sleep. I thought you sleep.
Right.
There's like deep sleep. What's the one past that?
You got REM sleep.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
REM sleep, and yeah, there's a lot to learn, a lot to be studied with sleep and recovery and all that. Second thing I say is nutrition. That's something I've always taken seriously, but like I know a lot of guys like you said, don't listen to coach, don't think it's that big. Like, man,
So what's a specific example when you say nutrition? Because that is a very overwhelming topic.
yeah, just I mean,
Like no fast food. Did you like cut out carbs?
I
Did
mean,
you
like for me right now, where
Yep.
I'm at, like I don't eat red meat, I don't eat dairy. I try not to have those like cheap, like you know what a cheat meal is. I don't got to sit down. Like you should not be having a bowl of ice cream, whole bunch of snack. Like you know what a cheat meal is.
Yeah, we're done with ramen. We moved past that.
Nah, hey, there's a time to get it how you live it. You know what I'm saying? But
you never know when that come calling.
yeah, you know, you gotta
before
mix
that,
the ramen with the
before the
man.
stipend or whatever hit.
Yeah, but like
College different.
yeah, there's ways around that.
Right.
Like you say you don't got a lot. Like
Yep.
peanut butter toast, that's something good for it. Like rather than going to McDonald's getting you a McChicken, some fries for $3. Like
Yeah.
there's ways around it, and you just gotta maneuver and know your budget. Like meal plan, that's something I need to be better at. Because if you plan, like you'll put your set, like like whether you've had those long talks or not, like all right, that ain't good. A handful of Skittles versus a handful of almonds, like come on now. So just it's little things like that that will elongate your career too.
Yeah.
And because what you put in that's your fuel to your fire. And so sleep, food, or nutrition. What was my body maintenance, like doing the stretches. DeVentri would be the first to tell you.
Yeah, I'm on
Back in the
everybody
day,
about- you're right. Yeah, he didn't like stretching at all.
Man,
you were
that-
always so tight.
that was the worst part of the workout. I was too tight. I couldn't even scratch my own back. Like, I touch my own toes. Like, it's... But the importance of that, like, if you that tight, something can snap like that, and then you out 6 months, 3 months. Like, it can be bad. So just doing the stretches, doing the recovery. I know people don't like ice tubs, but do that. Like,
Can confirm.
yeah.
If you don't like
They
ice tubs, then you got to get the game ready, or you got to have bags.
something.
Yeah,
You got to do something.
Yeah.
And whether it's just taping ice on your knees. Like, I remember my freshman year, they told me, Theo, you got to go neck deep. Like, coach going to be mad at you. Come to find out, they just doing that because I'm a freshman. But, like, yeah, that's how I learned. I'm like, okay, I'm sitting there neck deep. Guys come in and put their toes in. I'm like, yo, you supposed to go neck deep. You know what I'm saying? They're like, man, they messing with you.
Yeah.
But taking care of your body, and I mean, I really like what Q said, just your body is your temple. And, I mean, you got to take that serious because otherwise you just going to be left in the dust. They're going to find somebody that is doing it.
Yep.
So what are we doing for flexibility? Would you tell someone to get a resistance band?
No, man, we go through a full dynamic warm-up. We do a lot of prehab before we even do the dynamic warm-up. Then we try to do a cool-down after all the workouts, and then we do recovery days. So, and the cool thing about it is just having a space to have recovery days and teaching, athletes about hip mobility, the importance of what their body does and why it does it. Because if they understand more about it, then they're going to always do it. And we don't have to always tell them to do it because they know, like, okay, if I'm not in the hurdles doing it a certain way, this can happen to me here. So education is key too.
Yeah, I like that. All right, Q, we stalled.
All right, yeah.
And I'm only holding you to 1, but, he
know.
did throw 3.
I'm not gonna say he hit all 3, but those 3 though: sleep, nutrition, and the flexibility, prehab type stuff and recovery. Like those 3 definitely all are and I'd say honestly, probably like the flexibility stuff, like taking care of your body is probably like the biggest thing for me, because you can go ahead and, throw around 300 pounds, or you can run, 1,000 sprints, or you can, just work out every single day. But if your body isn't recovering the right way, it's not going to be able to, your body will decline, like you're not going to get better, or, your muscles won't build. Like that's probably the biggest thing, I think, especially being in Europe. I'm telling you, Europe is different. Like it's so different, because like I went at college, like, you have everything. In America, there's so much money in your recovery, because they know that your players need to recover, and Europe, top teams and stuff like that, they know that too. But sometimes just the funding is just not there, right? In college, you have everything that we've been talking about, right? We have everything that we have here, you have in college. You might even have more, right? You have sometimes doctors on site, to handle something right before the game, right after the game, like, where I've noticed, just having the knowledge to do it is the biggest part. Like, I mean, I think Will said it. Will, he was a rookie this year in the Netherlands, and he said, I normally didn't stretch like that, but there's something about Europe where he's like, I stretch every single day, before workouts, after workouts. Like he's always doing some sort of, rehab situation. So honestly, that's probably the biggest thing, other than mentally. I think mental side is probably like the other thing, not physical.
What do you mean by mental?
Mental is that next step, that separates really, for me, like the good from the great. Like it's one of those things where you can, know that you're supposed to do something, but to really understand why you need to be in this position on the court, or why you're in this setup for defense, especially as a guard, but even for bigs, like especially like having a smart 4 or 5 man is huge to a team. Like a guy that can read a defense, or a guy that can understand, like, oh, okay, if I hedge a little bit here, like, but understanding that, the game is one thing, but mentally too, having the confidence in yourself and your abilities, and knowing that you're in the position you are for a reason, like that to me is like the biggest thing, like especially once you get to a pro, like, and for me, pro is college too, especially if you want to get to the next level. It's the biggest thing, the mental, because I mean, at this level, there's tons of athletes, but I mean, if you can't put 2 and 2 together, you're just another athlete, So
that's a good point.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think this has been super beneficial. It's fun for us, DeVentri, that we get to hang out with guys like these two as well, that just love what they do so much and are willing to give back. So, like, thank you guys for sharing your stories and kind of what it's been like. And obviously, we'll get updates from you guys, I think, later in the years, Not that we'll have time with Theo, he's going to be big time behind the camera.
For sure. There's going to be cameras everywhere. We're going to see him a lot, actually.
Exactly, be good. But again, like the whole idea is try to like share the stories of like the journeys of everyone, and then how there's some actionable things that people can take to help provide their own journey. I mean, that's what it's about. DeVentri, you always said it's sports is a journey that for athletes, it's not linear. We gotta be strong and flexible, adaptable. And I think you've said these two have been kind of a couple of your model athletes in that sense. So like, what do you want to wrap with about these two guys?
And I'll come from a trainer's perspective. I call myself a performance coach. We also have to evolve too on the journey with our athletes. It's important for us to get proper sleep, to have proper nutrition, to recover. Just like these guys are too, because in a sense we're athletes also, right? Me, I'm 41 years old. Been doing this for a long time. So the wear and tear in our bodies too, because we're doing some of the same repetitive movements all day. So they're speaking what all performance coaches should be doing, right? Not just talking about it. But I appreciate these guys because they're on the journey with us. And as we're evolving, they're evolving. And so we like to be a company that's, I like to have more done than said. And so I think people are going to see that along our podcast as we're doing it, as we're bringing in more athletes, that we're a company that's always going to be evolving. We're never going to settle, and we're always going to try to meet our athletes where they're at to get them better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, it's been great. Obviously, listeners, if you have questions, jump in, let us know in the comments. We'll get them to these guys, see if we can get a little time from otherwise DeVentri and staff. We'll jump in to kind of connect any dots. But again, Quinton Hooker, Theo John, two of our top basketball athletes we've been blessed to train. And obviously all the best of luck to you guys. And if there's anything you need, let us know. We'll ship you some protein. We'll ship you a game ready. Whatever you guys need, you just let us know. We'll make sure you stay right. So anyways, that's going to wrap us up. Thank you again, everyone, for listening. We appreciate reviews in iTunes and Spotify, and share it with a friend. If you know of an athlete who wants to hear about some journeys and stories, share it with us. It always helps us out. But anyways, that's going to wrap us up.